Oh, don't look at me like that. This channel is Kaiser to Gamer, not Kaiser to Video Gamer. I'm just as likely to talk about the latest installment of Slapball's Masters 5 for the PS47 as I am to talk about backgammon or f***ing tag. If it falls under the concept of a game, I might cover it on this channel. So let's talk about the first ever sign I had autism, my childhood hyperfixation and special interests, Yu-Gi-Oh, and why I hate it now. I love strategy games, but that hasn't always been the case. My first loves were actually platformers. I started gaming from the time I could hold a controller, and my love of gaming has blossomed since then. In 2000, a show would come to America that would absolutely enthrall the mind of 7-year-old Kaiser, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters. It aired on a network called 4Kids, an absolutely monumentally dumb network in hindsight, but a network that introduced me to many of my favorite anime, including my all-time favorite anime, One Piece. Yu-Gi-Oh! Would eventually move to Kids WB after 4Kids shut down, but before that, in 2002, Konami would enact the greatest business move ever and release a trading card game based off of the show Duel Monsters. And so, upon its release, an eager 9-year-old Kaiser would drag their tired, overworked mother to the section of the new releases in Toys R Us and beg for the cards. Memories fuel my head of going to the earliest gatherings at Toys R Us and Barnes & Noble, where grown adults who had already been playing things like Magic the Gathering up until that point would beat me in duels and mock the foolish 9-year-old for daring to ever attempt to play a children's card game. Looking back on my interactions, it's not a wonder I didn't actually try Magic the Gathering until I was in my early 20s, and yes, I will eventually make a video on that as well, although the history will be far less extensive. In any case, my love of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cannot be understated. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Blanket that hangs in the background of my videos and streams is one that I've had since I was like 10 years old. One of my birthday parties was literally Yu-Gi-Oh! Themed. Every single birthday, Christmas, Easter, and just random gift-giving occasions, my family and friends got me Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. My fondest memories were sitting in the living room, thousands of cards laid out as I was organizing them by type, level, effect, and more. I had binders and binders of cards. I remember building so many decks, and my first official deck that didn't blow shit was one revolving around my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Card of all time, Ultimate Baseball Kid, and from my since sold collection is the only card I still possess and I have multiple copies of. My friends and I used to be so bad at building decks. We saw the episode of the original show where My Valentine was laying out her deck to test combos, and we thought you built decks by quite literally stacking the thing. Eventually, I became a deck tech and a judge, and my greatest achievement was making it to day 2 of Nationals with a Ben-K OTK deck. I could spend hours talking about how much I loved this game at one time. Good things can't last forever, though. At 18 years old, I'd hit the second worst depression of my life. I sold a collection of well over 10,000 cards for pennies on the bundle and quit the game for around 5 years or so. I'd come back in late 2016 to a vastly different game. The inception of several rule changes were one thing, but there were 2 new additions that completely lost me. Link Monsters and Hand Traps. Link Monsters were easy enough to understand after it was explained. Summoning from it required you to manipulate the link zones, and there was, it seemed so anyway, a lot more tactical thought to where you placed your monsters. Board columns mattered more than they ever did, and it was much more in-depth game than which I was all for. What ruined my experience, however, was the necessary evil of hand traps. Hand traps, as they are so named, are a set of monsters whose effects triggered by discarding them. This is done in response to the massive amount of combos that have entered the game. See, it isn't hand traps themselves that annoy me, it's why they have to exist. I entered the game with no hand traps, coming back with an old E-Hero deck I had managed to salvage from the remnants of my old collection. And here's how my first tournament match went. I started my turn, did a search, summoned and special summoned, and passed. My opponent then started his turn, 6 entire minutes pass by, my eyes start glazing over as he is not even close to being done, 2 more minutes pass, and I asked the guy watching if he can keep an eye on the match for me as I got up, went to grab a Coke from the counter, chatted with the cashier a bit, came back, and he was still taking his fucking turn! 15 painstaking minutes later, he was finally finished, and what was accomplished in that time? I'm getting to it, viewer, quit interrupting me. A board full of things that stop me from playing the game. Try to summon? Negated. Try to play a spell? Negated. Try to activate a trap? Negated. Try to search the deck? Negated. Try to resurrect? Negated. Try to ask your crush out? Negated. Try to apply for a bank loan? Negated. Healthcare? Negated. Trying to have fun? Negated! Everything I had ever loved about this game was gone. The interactability, the depth, the complexity, the battle of the minds that allowed for each opponent to cleverly come back through outplays and thoughtful turns, everything had been downgraded to overflowing your board with a bunch of cards that would essentially make your opponent watch you play Yu-Gi-Oh! Control wasn't just the meta, it was the state of the game. Without hand traps to stop your opponent dead in their tracks, there was no way to actually come back from their setup. But here is the kicker. Even with the hand traps, I still wasn't having fun, because then it becomes a race to see who can lock down the other faster. I tried for a few years, coming in and out of the hobby, playing when I could at local shops, but ultimately, I hated all of it. All the creativity I had loved about the game was gone, and even once I started getting the hang of it, I still felt bored. It wasn't fun anymore, at least not in my opinion, and the color drained from me. I finally had to sell my collection again a couple years back when I hit some financial trouble, and while the urge to collect is still there from time to time, my urge to come back and play the game isn't. I don't want to play anymore because I know it will just be the same shit over and over again, and that depresses me. I think back to the nationals I made it to. I remember the excitement I felt throughout that tournament, all the regionals I went through and down to the locals. I remember even when I lost, I still had fun because it felt like my opponent genuinely outplayed me, and not that I just wasn't allowed to play the game. I'm sad about it, but hey, at least I still have the memories. And that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, do let me know what you think down below, and a great big special thank you to my channel members listed on screen now. If you want to find out how to become a channel member today, get awesome perks like seeing videos early, merch discount codes, and more, then please click that join button down below. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Need more Kaiser in your life? Well, I've got you covered. Check out my second channel, The Kaiser Extras, where I upload full gameplays, stream compilations, me reacting to your Dead by Daylight clips, and more. We also upload a daily short with all the greatest clips from stream. We'll see you over there. Link is in the description.